Welcome on into the NAIF Ball Live Show powered by AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch, the best in the business since 1974. The goats of apparel, merch, and uniforms. I am Corey Thorpe. As always, we've got Matt Schwartzler. And Matt, sometimes we're right. And we had mentioned last Monday that even though this last Saturday was very light in terms of action, that would probably mean that it would result in some chaos.
Oh, did it?
It really did. Roger, now's a really good time to mute us, because this is a trigger warning for Marion fans. The first game up on the docket is just a good old-fashioned behind the woodshed butt whipping. I don't know that I have seen a game between ranked teams be this lopsided, especially where, Matt, check that time of possession on Marion. They held the ball for 37 minutes, which means that Indiana Wesleyan put up 77 points in about 22 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah. Usually, if you have the ball for that long, it can be a good sign. But in this case, it's not, because clearly Indiana Wesleyan just could not stop getting big play after big play. And the stats back it up. I mean, their quarterback completed 20 passes for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ryan Whitwell averaged over 10 yards of reception and 2 touchdowns on the day. And only one of their drives did not end in 7 points. It's just absolute madness.
I mean, we talk about red zone efficiency all the time. This is just straight efficiency. I've never seen obliteration to this scale against a team ranked in the top 15. This is just... And you look at Marion, and their stats aren't bad. Like, their offensive stats aren't bad. Roger said I should not have rushed to join at 8:02.
Yeah, not an ideal start for our buddy Roger. But man, Indiana Wesleyan must have heard what I was saying about him. How I didn't quite believe, because I believe now. I'll believe. I'm a believer.
Yeah.
If you could put 77 up on Marion,
that's woohoo.
Yeah.
So now we will end Roger's pain and talk about a team who got upset. And boy, Heidi, it was chaos weekend in the Mid-South Conference. Got to admit, I don't know that I saw this one coming. Lindsey Wilson, 9 of 13 for 61 yards out of their starting quarterback. And less than 100 yards from your starting running back is not an ideal situation.
Yeah, not at all. I think it's also worth mentioning that Cumberland's defense absolutely came to play, though. Like, on the flip side of that, absolutely showed out for the occasion. I feel like the way we've talked about the Mid-South very much was in the mindset this year that it is the big three and everybody else, like it usually is. That is not at all the case this year. Down the stretch, there's going to be a lot of competitive Mid-South football going on. But Campbellsville is the only team that is undefeated in this conference right now.
With the exception of Georgetown, who hasn't played a mid...
Yes.
Okay. Campbellsville's the only undefeated team overall.
Yes. Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah, Georgetown is only undefeated in conference because they haven't played a conference game. And that speaks a little bit to the next game, which is 2 weeks, 2 top 10 upsets.
Both to a Cumberland or Cumberland's team.
Well, last week was Concordia.
Yeah, sorry.
Last week was Concordia. That's okay. And now we talked about with Marion and Lindsey Wilson, or Marion and Indiana Wesleyan. Jeez. About that time of possession with Marion. In this case, Cumberland held the ball and played and played keep away there. I think I may have gotten those backwards. I did. Pardon me. What says BU should be CU, and what says CU should be BU. Righto.
Mhm.
And but the time of possession is still Cumberland. They held the ball for forever. They played keep away. Holloway was phenomenal. Was just efficient enough. Had that 13-yard scamper on 3rd and 11 to seal the deal. This was just a Cumberland defense that got in there on Bethel and kept their offense from doing a darn thing.
Mm-hmm. We had seen signs of Bethel showing some weakness this season, but I wasn't expecting them to be exploited at this point.
Neither was I.
Quite like Cumberland was able to pull off. So kudos to them, man.
Yeah. And look, it'll just keep going. We'll get to it a little bit later on, but someone's going to have to emerge out of the Mid-South. It's sort of a similar way as we talk about the Frontier. Someone's going to have to emerge, and right now the top 3 that we mentioned preseason, none of them are looking real hot. But speaking of the Frontier, yeah, there's more chaos. Montana.
It's so obvious. We were not going to get away from it.
and again, over to the side is good old Carroll just rubbing their hands together and going, yeah, buddy. Now, granted, Carroll still has to play all these teams in conference. But right now, they're building out a couple of game lead over literally everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that may serve them well down the stretch. I mean, we saw it coming. I mean, Montana Tech couldn't do anything on 3rd and 4th down, 4 of 14. Montana Western was good enough in the red zone, 3 scores and 4 trips, 2 touchdowns, 1 field goal. And we're starting to get into that time of year where Frontier Conference football is going to start to look more and more like a rugby scrum.
Yeah. But I think it's noteworthy, too. The stars in this one definitely came out to play. Lander Smith and Michael Palandry, 2 guys on either team that we have talked a lot about. Michael Palandry got it done through the air with a couple touchdowns on 20 completions, 200-plus yards, and a touchdown through the ground to boot. And Lander Smith, man, this dude is just a machine on the ground. 25 attempts, 163 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Although it was not enough to get it done for Montana Tech, I think it is still a very good sign of what you are fully capable of as you go through the rest of this Frontier schedule.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure what to think as well, because, I mean, you also had a Southern Oregon team that, of course, Rocky's not phenomenal this year, but just beat the pants off of Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, you've got 4 teams. I'm going to need one of you to not crumble.
Yeah.
I don't need 3 of you to be okay. I just need one of you.
Just one. That's it.
Yeah, because if you don't do that, you're gonna have a very hard time getting yourself a bye in a home game.
Yep.
And honestly, especially when you're coming out of the Frontier, that home field advantage there, playing in bitter cold, and you've had a week to rest your guys who have been knocking the crap out of each other for 10 weeks. Yeah. Look, figure something out. If it's Carroll, it's Carroll. That's fine. But you want to have success. That is going to be how you'd have to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Should be interesting to see how it shakes out, but we have so much more to go with the Frontier.
Oh, we do. We do.
Can't even begin to put a pin down anywhere.
I tell you, we are so thankful this year for Connor Darnell, who has been having our back and doing some great stuff. Got bag tags shipping out to our Players of the Week this year, courtesy of Connor. Those look amazing. And I don't know about you, Matt, but if you're on the opposing sideline, you see some joker waltz into your stadium with one of them offensive or defensive player of the week bag tags on. That is such a flex.
Oh yeah. I think I should also mention I actually have my bag next to me today
Yeah, do it.
in case you need proof.
Your
We're getting
team's is
blur.
killing you.
Hold on. We're getting blur. Sorry. There we go.
Looks so
Oh,
good.
isn't that beautiful?
I have the same one. If it look if you fly a lot, bag tags are invaluable.
It's extremely helpful.
It's so easy to identify your bag at the baggage cart. Um, but yeah, contact Connor for that NAI guy. Um, whether it's graphics, whether it's bag tags, anything that's visual like that, hit him up. Phenomenal guy, does great work. Let's take a look then at our top 25 media poll here. And for the first time this season, Matt, we have our full roster of media jokers voting. That
It's
is
lovely, isn't it, when that happens?
it's phenomenal. And honestly, I do think that this is probably one of our best polls yet.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. You do have, Indiana Wesleyan team who is um they're they're nipping at the heels. They are coming up fast through the rankings. I feel good about Benedictine at 5. I feel really good about having Tex West at 6. It's really rare that I say that about a Sooner team, but I feel much better about having them at 6 than, let's see, where the crap did the coaches have them? I didn't even look earlier today when I looked. Yay, underpreparedness. Oh, Luke Holloway got named NAI. Let's see, and then, I like my players of the week better. Texas West at 12. That just seems rude.
What?
Yeah, Texas West at 12 just seems a little rude.
Are you sure? Because I don't see them at 12 on that slide we have.
No. In the coaches poll.
Oh, the coaches poll. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having them at 12 just seems, that so coaches poll. That just seems a little rude. I like having them at 6. Look at Friends and Mid America Nazarene cracking that top 10.
Mid America Nazarene has just crept up the entire way just because everybody else has been losing.
Look, man, this is how you win national championships. Just don't lose.
Yep, it's true.
Or in the words of the immortal Al Davis, just win, baby.
Just win, baby. Roger pointing out too that Marion gets a nice little pity bump at 25 there for their loss this week.
Let's see. They are 3 votes ahead of Cumberland, who is sitting at 26. They are 6 points behind Southeastern, who is new this week. Obviously, we have Lindsey Wilson dropping out after that. They were in the low 20s for us. That makes sense to bump them out. Bethel down 9. They're at 18. Let's see. Evangels and Baker are both huge winners out of this. Both of them went up 5 spots off of having a bye.
Yeah, they didn't play. They just sat around and, oh, cool. Okay.
Right? Huge winners off of that. Obviously, Campbellsville up 4 into the mix. Poor Cumberland of Tennessee can't even get 25th. Of course, they don't get that in the coaches poll either. After unseating the 9th ranked team in the nation.
Yep.
But yeah, I love how you look at 11 through 15, and it's Frontier, KCAC, Hart. I keep wanting to say KCAC on that because they play flag in the KCAC. Frontier. All those teams are bunched there together. And then you've got Carroll at 23. I kind of feel like we might be underselling Carroll. And it might be because they haven't played anyone?
Yeah, I think it's the one case of a Frontier team will not get the benefit of everybody else losing because we're so used to it in the Frontier. There's so much like parity.
Yeah.
Whereas other conferences, after a big win or loss, it's pretty standard for others to benefit.
So I feel good about this, but it's weird, and we'll talk about why it's weird later on in the show. We got some. It wouldn't be one of our shows without a little bit of a soapbox, would it?
No, certainly not.
Well, before we get to that, we'll hear a word from our friends at AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
That is exactly what they do. They are the best at making you look like an absolute genius. That is effectively their job, is to get the best merch into your hands at a great price, but letting you get your priorities where they need to be, not in shipping stuff or handing stuff out or contacting people or doing customer service. You're not paid for that. You're paid to win football games. So go coach football and let AdCraft take care of the rest. I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but sometimes you got to put it that way. Now we get to our players of the week. Matt, they had Luke Holloway, which, let's review real quick. 10 of 18, 136, 17 attempts for 96 yards and a touchdown. Give me Andy Peters.
Yeah.
25 of 32 for 355 yards and 5 touchdown passes, and was not a liability in the ground game with 2 attempts for 22 yards.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good day.
I don't understand that. Then defensively, it was a hard week defensively. There were 3 guys that were all together. But when you got a defensive lineman, especially a tackle, who's getting an interception and a forced fumble and making tackles for losses and sacks, I think it's fair to give it to Matt Anderson. That was a really good game. I mean, we've okay, there's no we. I have been looking at Dakota State and thinking, they're not terrible this year. As I get the stare of death. I was really interested to watch that Dickinson Dakota State game to see how Dickinson would fare against a reasonably okay team. It wasn't a blowout, but they acquitted themselves nicely in no small part thanks to Matt Anderson.
Yeah. Needed to get it done against I will admit, good Dakota State team. I need to give them their flowers, unfortunately. So even though they did lose to Dickinson State, that's a quality win for Dickinson State. Matt Anderson being able to show out like that, like you said, from the interior for such a big game when it felt like a lot of the top teams were slipping up, and it gets Dickinson State back on track, I think, to make some noise in the top 25 after losing that D3 game. I think a lot of people, myself included, have kind of discredited them. So it's good to see their guys playing up to the task and them back winning football games.
Well, let's take a look and see what we got to watch for this week. This week has the potential to let chaos reign again. This is going to be phenomenal. You've got the KCAC getting back in action. Friends at Southwestern. That's a good one there. The Builders just feel like, in terms of getting momentum, like they've been stuck in neutral for most of the season. It's a good chance to get a quality win notched. Playing host to Friends. If you can get Friends to turn the ball over, you never know what can happen against that triple option team. However, I do think the triple option is going to be too much. I mean, Friends did fumble like 8 times against Kansas Wesleyan a couple weeks ago and still won. So I don't know if that says something about Kansas Wesleyan or says something about Friends.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know who that's more concerning for.
Well, unfortunately, Kansas Wesleyan's going to be in the hunt for a new head coach. So
yeah, okay, yeah, maybe there is a a side.
possibly a side. I think I'm still going to go with Friends. I think they're going to be able to get it done. Matt, where are you going with it?
Been riding with my boys at Friends all year. Why stop now? Triple option reigns supreme, baby.
And then 2 games in the Mid-South that should clarify heavily.
We'll get a lot of clarity in that division.
Yeah, we will. I cannot imagine that practice is going to be very fun for Lindsey Wilson this week. And poor Campbellsville is the next team in the way. And right now, yeah, they're 6-0, but I've also heard people kind of go, I don't know about Campbellsville at the same time. So I don't know precisely what we're going to get, but it's a very interesting game to see. Is this Lindsey Wilson team going to play a little bit like last year where they had an offer against top 25 teams? Or are they going to be able to notch a top 25 win? Because this does count as such. They were Campbellsville's in the top 25 in the coaches poll. So this will count as a ranked win if Lindsey wins. And Lindsey's got a lot of games in front of them against the top half of the Mid-South.
Yeah, Campbellsville could also really set themselves up nicely by being ready to play this game, though. I tell you what, they show up and punch Lindsey Wilson in the mouth. This is a team that's shown they're vulnerable, and while Campbellsville hasn't played anybody super tough, like getting a win on a Lindsey Wilson team that is on its back foot would be absolutely huge for proving not just to the Mid-South but the rest of the country that you are for real. So
I think I'm going to roll with the Blue Raiders here to go 1-0 this week.
Taking my Tigers.
Ooh.
I'll go with the
Right.
Campbellsville win here.
Let's go. Speaking of Tigers, we've got Georgetown at a Cumberland, Tennessee team who's probably feeling real good about themselves. And, it's been really weird. So Cumberland's head coach used to be the head coach at a little high school down here that now the OG himself, John Cooper, is the head coach of. Every time John has won or lost on a Friday night, this Cumberland of Tennessee team has done the exact same thing on Saturday. It's weird.
Oh boy. So what's who do they play this
I
week?
am fairly certain. I'm going to have to look it up because I did not intend on bringing this up on live. They are playing their rival Port St. Joe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's gonna be a war. That's gonna be a good game. So, we'll see if it holds. Georgetown getting a good win against a Faulkner team, maybe exercising a few of those demons that they've been fighting against all season long. At the same time, Chris Oliver offenses have sometimes, or Chris Oliver coach teams have sometimes struggled playing at Cumberland. I've seen it when he was the coach at Lindsey Wilson. I've seen them struggle with Cam Dukes at quarterback, with no less. This is a game of keep away. Whoever can win the time of possession war wins it. I'm going to go with Georgetown here being able to shut down the Cumberland Flexbone and taking that win. Sorry, John. Then I'm also predicting that you lose to PSJ, and I don't want that.
See, you're putting me in a tough spot here because I've picked a couple of the dogs. I picked Campbellsville, and it feels wrong to pick Cumberland in this one. But the Flexbone's kind of sick, so I'll go. We'll go with Cumberland.
Go off vibes.
They're gonna get it done. Look, I've been super high on Georgetown this year. I think this one will be just an absolute brawl, and there will be like 21 points scored in total.
That's fair. I mean, that one's going to be a war. I do think Cumberland is going to give Georgetown all they want.
For sure.
Indiana Wesleyan Taylor is also, strangely, I think this one's going to be a war too. I think that Taylor is going to be able to play with Indiana Wesleyan for probably 2.5 to 3 quarters.
By that,
Taylor is really good, and honestly, in my poll, I have Indiana Wesleyan at number 2, and I wrestle every week with whether they should actually be number 1, because they're just woodshedding everyone. And you look at that game underneath this one, and if Southeastern gives Kaiser trouble, I really might consider putting Indiana Wesleyan number 1. Depends on what they do against Taylor. I like Taylor. I think Taylor and Southeastern are similarly skilled teams in terms of their overall power. And so I think this would be an Indiana Wesleyan bid for that number 1 spot. Will the coaches give it to them? Probably not, because they're still Grandview in the way there. And Grandview plays Central Methodist on Thursday night.
okay.
Yeah, so, yeah. But to me, I think it's closer than I want it to be. I think Indiana Wesleyan might have a little bit of trouble putting Taylor away just because of how Taylor plays. But I'm still going to roll with the Wildcats on this one.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree. I'm done talking trash about this Indiana Wesleyan team. They've just shut me up every single week. I do respect Taylor. I think they're a quality football team this year. They went toe-to-toe with Marion. But we saw what Indiana Wesleyan did to Marion. Not that transitive football ever works out the same way we intended to. But I have no reason to believe that Indiana Wesleyan is going to struggle. So give me a very, very sound Indiana Wesleyan win.
And then finally, the nightcap, Kaiser at Southeastern. Kaiser won a couple weeks ago in a streaky game against St. Thomas that ended up being close. I don't know that Southeastern will be able to keep it as close as St. Thomas. I'm still not yet sold on the Fire. Note that Southeastern has yet to play St. Thomas. So there's no...
That's also true.
Yeah, so you just don't have that common opponent to judge against. I do think Southeastern is a bottom of the top 25 sort of team. I think Kaiser wins this one in a workman-like game. They're not going to blow them out. It is at Southeastern. That's a fun place to play. You have literal flamethrowers at the stadium. So that's cool.
That is cool.
I
want a flamethrower.
I know, right?
Is it like branded or no?
No, they just shoot it up in the sky.
Oh, okay. That's still pretty cool.
It's
It'd
pretty
be cool if they had like a branded one. They like
just
give to the guy at the front of the tunnel to run out with, you know? I'm sure that would not be dangerous at all.
not at all. Not at all. Um,
The idea is there, right? Yeah,
just
okay.
you know how you like for your homecoming court you would have like your ROTC like cross swords or whatever.
They cross flamethrowers and they like
Yeah,
shoot them
that'd be
in
so
cross
metal.
path. Yeah. All right. Well, if Southeastern does that, they're winning. So just know. I do think my biggest question with Kaiser, did we get a Jaden Meisinger update? Yes or no?
I did not hear either way on Jaden, but honestly, Burnett's a big boy. I think
Yeah,
even if it doesn't happen, and you got a full week off because you canceled your game for the Hurricane
it's
last
true.
week, so you did get an
Mhm.
off week. I don't know of any Sun teams that play. Thomas had to eventually cancel theirs because Weber was still trying to recover.
Mhm. I don't know. I'm taking Kaiser for sure. I think this one will be close. And I say that just because I think even though they were fine without Meisinger last week, I think that the shock of the sudden change can kind of jumpstart you in that situation. I think they're going to struggle a bit more without him to start this game at least. I think there's a bigger chance that Southeastern beats Kaiser than Taylor beating Indiana Wesleyan,
That's
if
fair.
I'm being completely honest. So I'm taking Kaiser in a pretty close one. They will probably pull away late, but I'd take them by like 2 touchdowns, little under that.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So Matt and I were talking before the show, and I think it's fair to roll it out here. Normally, it feels like by this point we would be able to start putting in some bracketology, some really early bracketology. Um, but I don't feel comfortable with that yet.
Yeah. There's so much up in the air, and like me and you were talking about, it seems like a lot of teams this year backloaded their schedules, whether that was their choice or not. I assume not, because conferences usually decide most of that. But yeah, just a very weird year the way everything is lined up.
Yeah, I mean the Frontier's got Carroll that hasn't played anyone. That they've still got to roll through the back half. That's going to decide a whole lot. Mid American Nazarene in the Heart hasn't played Baker or Benedictine yet.
Mhm.
Those are huge ones,
Morningside Northwestern will have to play each other.
right?
Hmm.
What was the one we were talking about? Mid South. There have been no games between Georgetown, Lindsay, and Bethel yet. It just it feels really weird because I really want to. I'm itching to start going. Okay, these are who these teams are. This is where this is going to go, and I just can't do it because there's too many big games left.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this is a plea to the schedule makers to like give me some games evenly spaced.
Can we also stop the two conferences have the same bye week?
We did talk about that last week. Now I will say, in all honesty,
I'm reiterating it.
in all honesty, it was really nice because Wednesday is my wife's birthday,
Oh, there you go.
and
They
so
knew.
without missing much football, I was able to take her out for a nice day out on the town. So I do appreciate everyone colluding for my benefit. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe space things out. But that being said, that's really going to set us up for this back half of the season where we're just going to have matchup after matchup after matchup, and we're going to be going into the last couple of weeks thinking about tiebreaker scenarios and all this stuff almost more than ever before.
Yeah. It feels like nothing's happening, but the dominoes are going to start to fall much quicker than we are used to. because of how the schedules have worked out.
And you
So-
look at the ARC ratings; those will come out in 10 days. So 2 weeks from now, we'll have an idea of what the committee, how the committee sees these teams. Trying to look and see where because the day that they're releasing is different. I will actually not be in a hotel room this year. Shocker.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
I know,
Good for
right?
you.
Again, the dates align in my benefit. I am extremely happy with this. Let's see. The selection show is on November 17th.
Mm.
So, seems later than normal. It's probably because the championship's on December 21st. Yeah, and so it's going to be good getting down to the back half of the season. Ashton Sorgi, giving that Go Saints. Look, man, you got an even shot to take it, Marion. The MSFA right now, especially the Midwest, is no one's played anyone yet in the Mid-States Midwest.
Another one, yeah.
Again, yeah, and they'll start this week. Marion plays Olivet Nazarene. I don't know who anyone else plays off the top of my head, honestly, because I haven't looked because no one else in the Midwest is ranked. I suppose I could look, but presto. But that's another good one where you don't know what you're gonna get until the back half of the season. Honestly, not even everyone in the Mideast has played each other yet, much less the Midwest. Let's see if we can find conference schedules. This is all season. This is ridiculous. Midwest. Scroll all the way down here. Ooh, St. Francis, St. Xavier. That's going to be a good ball game. A 1:00 start. That one is always a war.
Yep.
And then St. Francis and Judson have to see on that one. But St. Francis, St. Xavier is always absolutely peak. That one I might watch, even though neither of them are anywhere close to ranked right now. Let's see. And nothing will get decided in the Appalachian until, good grief, November? Reinhardt plays Bluefield? Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know. Let's see if there's any other comments here. Yeah, Chris noting you've got the Heart South with Benedictine, Mid-America, and Baker. I really do like what the Heart South is comprised of this year. CS, only 3 Mid-South teams in the top 25 and none of the top 15. It's because that's what happens when you have upset losses. Sean Chamberlain going homer with the 56-14 IWU. That would be a little tilted, in my opinion, but it's not out of the question.
Yeah. B2A, as the kids say nowadays.
You'll have to explain that one to me later. That's not one I've heard yet.
Means belt to ass.
Very good. One of life's little joys to me is using the Gen Z and Gen Alpha slang back at them and watching them squirm. It's great fun.
Yep.
Yes. Just telling them that they have Skibbity Ohio Riz and just watching them think about that. It's lovely.
Much like the very visceral reaction I just had to you saying that.
Exactly. Brings me great joy, just like when I see that another patron has joined.
My God.
You teed it up. You teed it up. This one's your fault.
I knew as soon as I said it too. I was like, here we go.
When you give me a softball like that, I'm gonna hit it.
Just batting practice at this point, man.
But we do love our cast of patrons. They are the bomb. Literally at this point, it's almost a weekly polling them of who we should choose as offensive and defensive.
Yeah, honestly,
I
they're
mean,
putting in more work than the voters are.
I mean, it's a perk, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to go through all 50 of the box scores. I do that for you. I usually come in with a top 2 or top 3 to our patrons in our Discord and let them fight it out. Sometimes I agree with them, and sometimes I overrule them, and sometimes I let them have it. But they are DSU Cone, Bob Boone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vobble, Fred Christensen, Ace Wellen, Brett, Marty Seabolt, Nick Ryan, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julianne Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Louddale, Norton Nathan Moore, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Charles A. Flowers, Todd Nick, Sean Chamberlain, Zach Lance, Josue Trujillo, Casey Willison, Carol C. Suggs, Chris Henchman 21, Derek Lowers, Jason Garnon, USF Sucks,
USF sucks.
Chris Sweener, and Ian Brookshire.
That dude, I love it.
You-
That one every time. It's my favorite.
It's so direct. It's phenomenal.
As football should be, if I'm being honest.
Pick up some other good games here. Some ones that aren't on our what to watch for that I'm probably going to have up just because I'm interested. Dickinson State, Mayville State. Mayville's not been terrible this year.
Didn't they beat somebody a week or two ago? that they,
Yeah,
like, probably should
yeah,
have?
Valley City.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they've been killing
out
it this
Mayville.
year. It's like the best
Yeah.
season in forever with 4 wins. And you know, that was only a one. So 2 weeks ago, they beat Dakota State as well, 13-12. They get another swipe at Dakota State. You've got Dickinson State. You get another swipe at Valley City. You've got Jamestown, who is iffy this year. I don't know. And Mayville might be a good game. Oh, what was the other one? Mid-American Moval. Moval gave Baker fits.
They did. Mhm.
I really want to see common opponent how Mid-American Nazarene is going to play against Moval. Mobap has also given some teams fits. I'm interested to see how Benedictine handles them. Matt,
Cory, I think we're forgetting to mention the 2-game win streak Dakota Wesley Tigers hosting number 3 Dort
I was
in Mitchell.
I was about to ask you there. Over under getting beat by 42 points against Dort.
Under, give me 36, and we're set.
Let's go.
I'm actually curious, just for my fellas, because they struggled at the beginning of this season. They're starting to piece some things together. Homecoming was last week. Shout out to my Blue and White Days folks over there. But curious to see if they can hang, like, in any capacity. That's always the fun part when you get to this point with some of these teams, is that they got nothing to lose, and Dort's got everything to lose. So, hey, call me biased, call me whatever you want, but don't count them out.
The other one that's interesting to me, because they've given other people trouble, is Evangel versus Bethany. Bethany has played above their head this season so far. Trying to pull up the schedule. Now, the win-loss might not show it, but they're 3-3, which for Bethany is doggone good. A win against Ottawa at home, a game against Kansas Wesleyan that, although it was 54-16, Kansas Wesleyan piled it on in the last quarter and a half, and made that look terrible. Kansas Wesleyan struggled with Bethany. You've got wins against Tabor and Sterling. Can they give Evangel a little bit of what for? Probably not. But it's worth looking at and seeing how they handle it. If they handle it like a top 10 team or if they handle it like a bottom 5. Matt, I don't know if I can extract any more good games, but there are a lot of good ones this week in both in ranked games and in just interesting matchups, which probably means it'll be chalk.
How it goes. Yep.
But either way, we will see what we get, and we will see y'all on the Twitter feed. Perfect freaking timing, because just as soon as I went to black,
Camera just went out.
the camera went out.